Demonio Dinaja Abarera Legos Ori Banish C10 Demonio Dinaja Abarera Licos Rambori Banish C10 Demonio Dinaja Abarera Licos
What's up, everybody? I have no idea what happened to the music. For some reason, the music's not running anymore. I'm not sure what happened there. But welcome to the Malice Experience. I am, of course, Adius Dade, and I am with everyone's favorite person,
You were
Mystic,
gonna do it, and then you tried to change it.
Mystic Salon. So we kind of switched up the design a little bit. New logo, new font type. You know, I got bored today, and this was the result. So, hello, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. It is good to be here. This is the thing that I look forward to practically all week long. Me and my orange juice. I was going to do alcohol, but then I was like, I'm just going to drink orange juice. I promise there's no vodka in here. It's just orange juice and pulp.
And it's not real orange juice. I am drinking one of our homemade guava meads. It's actually really good. It needs to sit for a little bit longer and age, but it's still pretty good.
So, yeah, that actually does look pretty good. It's just the idea of you saying it's really dry, though, kind of scares the shit out of me.
Well, if you like Cabernet, like Gothic Cabernet, it's the same kind of dry.
Oh, okay. That's good. All right, then.
Yeah.
All right, then. Yeah, I guess I would like it. Because
Mm.
when I think dry, I think of gin, right? I think of dry gin.
Yeah, it's more of a dry because just dry mouthfeel because there's not a lot of sweet to it. It's very not sweet. It's actually
Okay.
the least sweet you can get because all of the sugar is converted to alcohol with our process that we do. And
Interesting.
cherry Coke and coconut rum is an amazing mix for sure.
All right, I definitely need to try that cherry Coke and coconut rum. So we're talking like Malibu type shit, right?
I love Malibu rum. It makes any drink super easy to drink, and you can't get too drunk off of it. Well, you can, but you can drink it for a while and have just a nice buzz.
I think I need to give me some Malibu.
Yeah, Malibu is easy to drink, and you can take shots of Malibu, and it doesn't, to ever. But I don't drink Coke anymore. I don't drink any kind of soda. So
Cherry Coke. I don't think that we have it. I don't think there is cherry Coke down here. I know that they just got Dr. Pepper cream soda. And I'm a big fan of cream soda.
I saw an article the other day where there's a 103-year-old lady who says her secret to life was 3 Dr. Peppers a day. Love Dr. Pepper.
I mean, like, what size bottles of Dr. Pepper are we talking?
Oh, I don't know. I think she's drinking like 3 glasses of it. It's just what the doctor ordered, I get. Okay, that was cheesy. But it is what it is.
It worked. It worked, right?
I don't drink any soda anymore. I gave it up completely, so.
What's the best you could get in Mexico? The best of what?
Coke, I guess.
I mean, I think like the best thing to get, down here is DA. That just makes me think of Adam Sandler. That's the only thing that makes me think of is Adam Sandler. Gatorade H2O.
Hydrogen dioxide will kill man.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about manifestation, but before we get into that, well, Mystic, what deck do you have? What big deck energy do you got for us tonight?
You want to see a big deck?
Yeah, sure. Jesus Christ.
It's the Dali Tarot.
You just had to go get the biggest deck you could find.
And it's velvet.
The whole deck or just the box?
Just the box. The deck is actually really small. Big package, small deck.
Yep.
So this is the Dali Tarot. I have a thing for really nice, like really neat books right? And so, um, like Taschen is one of my favorite. What do you call them? The people that make books, book publishers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the few Taschen decks that you can get. And so you open this huge deck with a huge book. I have a big head, just for the record. This is a huge ass book. And then you pull out the actual deck itself, and it's a regular deck, a little big. So, but I mean, all decks are amazing in their own way, right?
I mean, it's kind of fancy though.
It is very fancy. I'll be truly honest. I don't really, really like this. I have hiccups. Deck that much. I'm not a big fan of the imagery, but it's neat. It's a very thin deck. You're paying for the book and you're paying for the box and the velvet and all that stuff. Really, with this one, the back is okay. It's a reversible back. It's a whole bunch of SDs, Dali. And then the imagery is very different, as you would expect. I want to show the magician.
So are we saying like Dali, like Salvador Dali?
I assume so. It's just called the Dali Tarot. I've never read the book, so I don't. I'm assuming yes. Because that's how it was listed in the thing. But again, I haven't read the book, so. El Mago. We have the High Priestess. So the imagery is very consistent with traditional imagery, but it's obviously very altered. I like it because it's got a very watercolor feel to it. I do like that, but not all of them. Like they're just they're pretty. They're nice. They're not my style, but readable. The Emperor is a really good one.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah. Let me get to El Diablo. Oh, the chariot's really pretty. The chariot.
That's nice.
The chariot. Justice is ugly. Sorry. That's pretty cool.
Oh, nice. Simple.
I wonder how much that reads to the burning bush. The devil I don't truly understand.
Not what I would be expecting for the devil.
Me either. Let's see.
Three of Wands.
Yep. Three of Wands. But there's some really neat stuff in here. It's definitely interesting. But we're gonna shuffle because this needs a good shuffle. And we're gonna do a read. Now, of course, this deck I barely shuffle, of course, because the freaking cards are too big. Shut up. I have small hands.
I didn't say anything. Big head, small hands.
Big head, small hands. So this is definitely one of those decks. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the imagery, so it doesn't necessarily speak to me all that much. So I really wouldn't use it for regular, just any tarot read. But it is neat in its own way. I like the purple velvet box is pretty cool, and just the fact that it's Taschen as the publisher, I like because they really do have some very neat books. And the Virgo, I like my little combinations and little groupings of books that are kind of similar but not quite the same. So let's see what we get. All right, so we've got the Two of Swords, Strength, and I'll show them, and the High Priestess. These are all absolute action cards. So the first one we're going to start with, Two of Swords. Oh, I guess I can hold it up for a little bit. You have to know when the Two of Swords shows up that you need to make a decision. Stick to it and move on. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Just do it. You have to cut precisely with the Two of Swords. Anytime the Two of Swords shows up to me, it is literally whatever you're thinking about. You have to say yes or no. There's no in between, which will be actually supported by the cards we're about to talk about. It is an absolute need to make a decision and stick with it. Even if you feel like it's the wrong one, you'll be burned more by not sticking to a decision. So if you look at it this way, if the answer that you're looking for, what you want to do, you decide to move forward with it and it's a yes, and it doesn't work out, or it's a no and it doesn't work out, both of those options are better than if you don't decide anything. So it is a clean cut, whatever you need to do, make the decision, stick to it, don't waffle. Ooh, waffles sound good.
Waffles are good.
Strength is the second card. So when I pull strength, or when I think of the strength in the tarot, I think of strength that requires humble and kind strength. In the traditional tarot, you see usually a young lady pulling a thorn out of the tiger's paw. If you think of an Aesop fable, kind of go down that road with it of, you should be afraid, but you're not, because you're going to overcome your fear and actually make a change with that overcoming of that fear, and actually help and create new friends. So strength means to go boldly into something that you have and go boldly forward and make changes, right? So this goes along with our Two of Swords. Make a quick decision, a real decision, stick to it, be strong about it, but be humble about it, and use your strength not as in a overpowering, hammer, but as in a very precise hit on something that needs to be taken care of. And then again, one of my favorite cards in the deck, the High Priestess. The High Priestess always shows up when they need you, when universe wants you to walk through the path of something instead of going around it. So know your magic, do your magic. Fits with manifestation perfectly, obviously. The Magician and the High Priestess are all about manifestation. But the High Priestess is saying, don't go around it. Don't take shortcuts. We really need to walk through, because the experience that you're going to have walking through this situation is what's going to give you the benefit of the experience, right? If you go around it or take shortcuts, it may work, but you're not going to learn the lesson you needed to learn to get to the next phase. So all in all, this is about decisions. This is about being strong and forceful with your decisions. Make them, stick to them. I always learned that the worst decision you can make is an indecisive one. So base your decisions on things that you know as much as you can with the right information. And if you make a wrong decision, you're still going to stick to it until you recognize that it's wrong. And then what do? You use your strength, you use your magic, you walk through it, and you learn and you experience and you adjust. So this next week, again, all about don't waffle in your decisions. Eat Belgian waffles with coffee, and be strong about what you're doing, and work your magic without shortcuts. No shortcuts.
So didn't we mention before in a previous episode, though, that when we were talking about making decisions, that there really isn't any right or wrong decision. There are just choices. I think we covered that, right? Like it's like we like to try to define things as right or wrong, but like right or wrong is kind of relative.
I like yes or no better. It's just the decision is yes or no. It doesn't mean it's a good decision or a bad decision. When you make a decision, it may feel like you didn't get the outcome you wanted, which makes it feel like a bad decision. But this is all talking about, none of that really matters, to your point. The decision's made. Like once you make it, you can't undo the decision.
Right.
You just move forward and maybe choose something different next time, or adjust your outcome by making small adjustments. And that's truly what the High Priestess represents. Once you've made a decision, people, oh my God, that was the wrong decision. Did I do the right thing? Oh, I should have done this. There's no such thing as I should have done this anymore. You already did it. You can do it now, make a new decision to do something, but you can't go back and change the old one.
I think that's where a lot of people get hung up in manifestation, or manifesting like the things that they want in their lives, is they get hung up on the things that they did or the choices that they made instead of the choices that they can make. And I feel like what happens is you kind of enter into this cycle where when you get so hung up on the choices that you made in the past, you kind of inevitably end up repeating them because you're so focused on them. Instead of thinking about what it is that you can be doing, you're thinking about what you did, and then you just redo it again because you're so stuck on, shit, why did I do that? and you kind of get into that cycle. Well, fuck, I keep doing the same thing over and over again. You know,
There's a lesson in there somewhere.
there is like, stop kicking yourself in the ass and start moving forward. I just kind of picture like I think there's like a cartoon back in the day, like back in the 50s, like that, with a guy that like would literally kick himself in the ass and walk around in circles, and be upset the fact that like he was kicking himself in the ass. It was like a
We watched different cartoons.
I mean, it was done and animated in a funny way, right? But like, I mean, it was back in the 50s,
Well, I mean, it really fits in with the whole comment. The high priestess, when it comes to manifestation, it's the difference between saying "I hope," "I wish," "I dream," "I think," "I need," versus "I am," "I will," "I have," "it is." That's the high priestess, and that's the decision that we are talking about when we're talking about manifestation too. Is sticking to that decision. This mead has a very high alcohol content. I already feel a little bit of a buzz.
I'm actually afraid. Like, I do have a little bit of alcohol here, so this is a little bit of that orange juice with
Vodka,
white rum. Actually, I don't have vodka. It's white rum.
It's a good option.
Kraken white rum, but I'm actually afraid to drink it because I have cut back my drinking so much, and I've drank so little over the last month, 2 months, that just looking at this terrifies the shit out of me. to drink it. I'm just gonna it's gonna plaster me to a wall, basically, that one glass. When I used to be able to do a fifth of JD honey to the head, like I'd just be able to grab a bottle of Jack Daniel's honey and just drink the whole fucking thing.
Just not worth it.
Yeah, no, not really. No, if I tried to do that now, I'd end up dead on the floor. How quickly things change over a couple months time, and I bring that up because that is that relevant to manifestation. Because one of the things I started noticing was that I felt like I couldn't go live or do a stream without drinking a little bit first, having a little bit of a buzz, to kind of calm me down, loosen me up, and kind of get those juices flowing. And then I would have never. What's that?
There's a word for that.
All right. Liquid courage. Yeah.
I was gonna say it ends in ism and starts with alka.
And then I would go back and I would watch those streams, right? I would watch those streams, which I generally hate watching myself to begin with, but I would go back and watch those. And by the end of them, oh boy, was it not fun. It was quite embarrassing. Like, because in the moment I felt very, straightforward. I was speaking correctly. I wasn't slurring my speech. And then I go back and I watch. It's like, oh no, I was doing all the things I thought I wasn't doing. And so,
yeah.
I made a very conscious decision to not drink. Right. I mean, it's not that I don't drink at all. Like, I'll have a beer here and there, right? Off stream, but yeah, I just don't really drink anymore. I'm not really interested in it. I think the last time I bought a bottle of wine was maybe like a month ago for a stream we did like a month ago. And half of that bottle is still in my refrigerator, which I probably need to throw out now.
No, put it in a largemouth jar, put some cheesecloth over the top, and let it sit for a few weeks, and you will have red wine vinegar.
Oh, really?
Yep. We make it here too.
Yeah, no, it's like, I mean, so I used to be the same way, Sophie, like when I was younger, but like, so back in college, like when I couldn't handle the flavor of beer and stuff like that, Smirnoff Ice was my best friend.
Oh, you and me both. Never well, Blue Sky, like not Blue Sky, was it Sky Blue or
Sky
whatever
Blue.
it was? Yeah, that was my big one.
With 2 Ys.
Man, yeah, same thing, different bottle.
So, yeah, Smirnoff Ice was my best friend. Zima. Yeah.
Look, I used to drink. I drink to blackout drunk 3 to 4 nights a week between like 18 to 25, and I just had to stop. And so, as I get older, my body doesn't allow me to drink quite as much. So it's really hard to find the middle ground, though. You know, when you're drinking, and my family is full of alcoholics, severe alcoholics. And when I got so drunk one day that I literally missed the glass door of where I lived and got mad at it and beat it up off the hinges until I was bloody in my hands, that was it for me. I stopped drinking at all for like a year that from there. And now it's kind of like I'm trying to maintain just, I want to get drunk once a month. So I give myself that one drunk a month, and then try to have a glass of water between each drink the rest of the time.
Sounds like, I think that sounds, that sounds good. That's a good way to go about it. I think moderation, like, some people can't handle the moderation, and that's fine. And they need to cut it out completely. I'm not cutting out drinking completely. I'm just forcing myself into a situation where I don't need it to do a show. Right. Like I do have high levels of social anxiety. And so, it does kind of become a thing, like, kind of like trying to be comfortable to get my ideas out there and kind of talk to you guys. And I kind of kept telling myself, like, I don't need this. I don't need this to be able to go live. Right. And I feel like the last few shows that I've done sober, like, so for example, like you guys noticed, like last week, Mystic wasn't able to come onto the show. And I was actually able to do a show by myself, which is something that I don't normally do. Like, if you guys notice, like, if you go to any past broadcasts, when Mystic cancels, I cancel the show if I can't get somebody else on, right? That is kind of, a thing that happens, right? And last week I didn't do it. I said, fuck it. I can't get anybody else on. Mystic isn't coming. We're going to do this. Let's go. Let's do it. And I'm very glad that, I was able to do that. It was kind of like unintentionally showing and proving something to myself. No, Mystic, we're not kicking you off the show. The show wouldn't be the show without you.
I was just thinking, like, I think Sad World is like my, what do they call it? My spirit animal. Hey guys, you remember all those times we can't remember? And I don't want this to sound very rude or inappropriate, but everybody, and myself included, that drank Zima was gay and worked on cars. It was a weird thing, and we always had to have a Jolly Rancher in it. Like, you had to. Like, it was a thing.
I have never in my life ever tried Zima.
It tastes disgusting. I mean, it's bad. The only reason you drank it is because it had a really neat bottle. Like, the bottle was awesome. And, like, you had to feel kind of cool. Like, I remember helping my friend rebuild Z28 Camaro. And it's like, I know it's hard to imagine, but if you can imagine some really gay guys out in the middle of a parking lot working on a car covered in grease, it's hilarious. Especially when there's like 8 Zimas on the side. I don't know why. It just was fun. Yes, you had to drink 10 of them, seriously. And by the time you get to your 10th one, you felt like you were going to throw up, not because of the liquor, and you weren't even really drunk. It was just because you were sick from drinking so damn much.
What was the alcohol content of those fucking things?
Like, same as Sky. It was the same as Blue Sky. It was all in the same group as the Smirnoff and all that stuff. The ice.
3.5, the 4.
But they certainly weren't light. So
1%?
It was low. But I mean, that's all I did from probably the age of well, not drinking, but from the age of 10 to 23, all I did was work on cars. Like, that was our big thing. That's why I'm excited now, because we're kind of getting back into working on the motorcycles and doing all that stuff. So
there you go.
Like, I'm trying to be a cool guy again. I'm in my midlife crisis, I think. I don't know.
I think that shit's done sailed, my friend.
At 40?
Have you counted all the fucking tarot cards you have, the tarot decks you have? I think that kind of says something.
I think the midlife crisis
it's a midlife crisis that hasn't stopped.
It's the Supra and the motorcycle, the Cruiser. That's the midlife crisis, but it's fun. So
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I knowing you how I know you. I don't think that you have had or that you are going to have a midlife crisis.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I watched my dad's midlife crisis, which TMI is him, and I know he would be pissed off if I share this, but is at 16 years old watching him sit on the floor in his underwear with me and my grandmother watching him trying to put a gun in his mouth. So sorry for the trigger warning, lack thereof. Um, so I made sure that I would, when I get to those points of feeling a certain way, I talk to people. So, but I don't think I will have a midlife crisis.
Yeah, and I think the thing is like I think like in my opinion, I mean I'm not a doctor of any kind, but I mean in my opinion, I think a midlife crisis happens when you've already got kind of like your career established, you've been doing a certain thing for a certain amount of time, and then you don't feel any advancement from that point, right? You feel stagnant. You feel like you're in a situation where there is no upward or there's no vertical or horizontal movement in any direction, and you know, when you reach a certain age, you get to this point, well, what the fuck have I done with my life? You know, what do I have to show for the work that I've done? You know, all that type of shit goes through the mind. And then you buy a fucking Ferrari with your life savings.
Yeah. And all of this is in manifestation, by the way. That's why I think it's a good topic. But I mean, I have to say, like, I feel really good when I look back, even at this point, of things that have happened and enjoyed it. Like, I really can narrow it down pretty quickly to the things that have made me feel good and made my life worthwhile. It's usually animals, but I mean that's a good point. I think you get to a point where you have to try to fill the vacuum of where you can't see what you did was meaningful.
Yeah,
but you learn to also not take meaning in outside of yourself too. That's the other thing I've been lucky to realize early, I think. You know, that I don't judge myself based on how other people, and I'm not great at this a while back, but not using other people to judge what I'm doing. At 41 years old, I have to just do what it's right for me. It's the same thing with my career. I've overachieved to where I ever thought I would be in my career. So, like, if I have to go back and work at, any place, I don't care. I don't care what prestige is related to it because I've hit my goals. And that's
I think of it this way. Like anytime I start to get to that point in my life where I feel like, like what Sad World says is I'm 38 years old and I feel like lately I'm going through a midlife crisis of some sort because I ponder the same things Malice just brought up. So anytime that I start thinking about those types of things, first and foremost, I look at the things that I have done. Like I look at the community that I've created, the people that I've brought together, like the unlikely connection of people that, exist here tonight. The friends that I've created along the way. And then if I really, really need some fucking inspiration, I just think of Colonel fucking Sanders, man. Dude was like fucking 60 or some shit when he started selling his chicken, before KFC was fucking created, right? So motherfucker did that shit door to door. And now KFC's fucking everywhere. Like, I think there's even KFC in fucking India. And they don't have McDonald's or Burger King or anything, right? You can't eat cows. Cows are sacred, right? Is that kind of like Fluffy? Like he kind of cracks that joke like when they're talking about like why the cows are sacred. And he's like, well, that guy we just saw got hit by the car, right? That's probably him. That's probably him right there, So, that's what I think about. Like, so I think like it doesn't matter how old I get or how forward. I know that I'm doing things that are moving me forward, and that's part of like putting the work in is part of manifestation. I think that's one thing. Like, I think that there's a couple of things that people miss when it comes to manifesting. Mystic and I kind of talked about it before we went live. Kind of like some of the things that people kind of like skip over when it comes to like manifesting things. And I think one of those things is, actually putting the work in, right? There's this, for some reason, for some people, there's this Hollywood expectation that you're going to light a candle, light some incense, do a ritual, speak some spooky language, and then some magic shit's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that will never happen, but it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, it's really like manifestation is a big part of it too. And I think midlife crisis is probably a relatively manufactured thing. I only say that, I'm in my midlife crisis because you're supposed to go through your midlife crisis around 40. Like that's when it happens. but I have been very lucky at the right time to go in the right place and to make the right decisions. I mean, there's a lot of shit I fucked up, but you know, it's really learning to be aware and present with yourself. I think on truly, when I went to graduate school, one of the first classes they made me take was mindfulness and meditation in a graduate course, right? Because they said of all the things you'll ever learn about nursing, the most important thing to know is to be observant and be present and be aware. If you can do those things, you can figure out what to do next. So it's really, really big piece of learning that's kind of carried through with me for a while about, you know, those things, being present, being mindful, and when you're manifesting, don't ask for it, don't wish it, don't hope it. Oh, I wish things were better. I hope things are better. It's things will be better because I'm going to make them better.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and that's the difference. And then you learn that, and it kind of keeps that midlife crisis a little bit at bay, because it's yeah, you know what? Maybe I am trying to rediscover the things that I missed as a kid because I grew up really fast. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be a crisis. It's you know, soul is where it needs to be, and I'm relearning a few things that I really wish I would have done when I was younger and I didn't. And here we are.
I mean, the thing is like I sit there and I think about like manifestation, right? So I'm going to give you some mundane examples. And I mean, mundane in quotes, right? Like, I mean, you could also do spiritual
I wish I had a
quotes
better
as well.
word for that, right?
Right? Yeah, same. But
It's
like
so mundane.
Like it being like when I say mundane example, let me give you some materialistic examples. Better yet, like let's put it that way, like something that's like quantifiable and viewable and tangible, right? So for years, like when I, you know, got my first computer and stuff like that, like my first computer was a Mac, and that was great. And then I didn't really get into computers much after that. And then I remember when I got my first PC. I was like, I really want a powerful system. Like, I really want a powerful computer. I want a computer that, you know, is going to be able to handle the things that I want to be able to do and actually be able to create something. Like, I want to create. I want to make something. And, like, I knew that, like, a digital format was the direction that I needed to go in. Now, most of my life, financially speaking, I have never and not been in a position, you know, to drop $5-6 grand into a computer system, right? Mm-hmm. And get, you know, the screen drawing tablet and the mechanical keyboard with all the RGB lights and the fucking fancy monitors and shit like that. Guess what? Here I sit in front of everything I thought I would never have. And there's a lot of work that goes into that, right? Like, I had to sit there and focus and say, okay, I need this to do the things that I want to do. I need this to be able to create the things that I want to create. And it was a focus that I had every single day. And guess what? I didn't buy everything overnight, right? First, I got a pretty half-assed computer, and over the course of 2-3 years, you know, it, you know, got better. You know, and then I remember, like, my lowest end piece of hardware at the time was my graphics card. And I was like, well, shit, you know, I need a better graphics card because I need to be able to, like, you know, it needs to be able to handle After Effects. It needs to be able to do these animations and shit like that. How am I going to get the fucking money for a graphics card? The prices of graphics cards are through the fucking roof right now. They're like, you know, a 2080 Ti was going for almost $2 grand. You know, like, you know, and that's with the 30 series are already out. So people are dropping $2 grand into a 2080 fucking Ti with the 30 series out. And I was like, well, how the fuck am I going to do it? And then here comes this motherfucker, Mystic. He's like, oh, yeah, I got a 2080 just sitting in my fucking closet. Like, you know, and I'm like,
I mean, I did.
You know?
I'm not going to use it.
You know, I'm like, well, how much do you want for it? And like, we worked out like a price, like I think it was like $700 or some shit like that. And he just sends it to me. He's like, yeah, there, it's in the mail, right? And there's a fucking 2080 sitting on my fucking doorstep, you know, like out of just like, fuck, you know, like just as like 2 weeks before, I'm sitting there saying, I need a better graphics card, you know? And whether it's coincidence, I don't believe in coincidence, you know. And here's the thing: like on top of that, this motherfucker was nice. He's like, "Oh, don't worry about the $700. I'll just, you know, we'll exchange it over for like, you know, graphic design work when I need shit." You know, and you know that was that. I have a 2080 sitting in my computer because I am, and you know, and it just kind of like that level that's manifestation, that's manifesting, like, you know, focusing. It's like, okay, this is what I need, right? And then whether or not it was mystic that I got it through, or I found a way to, you know, trade out the 2060 super that I had, you know, for a higher end card or something, you know, you go about creating these things, and like each thing. So I knew that in the big scheme of things, I wanted that giant, you know, system that you could work with. But over the course of the years, as I got this thing and the next thing and the thing after that, it was focusing on one piece of the big picture. Because inside of the big picture, right, there are smaller pieces you need to focus on. So, you know, it was the graphics card. It was the RAM. I needed 64 gigs of RAM. I've got 64 gigs of RAM. I needed a larger monitor that was IPS at a higher resolution. I have that. I have a 34-inch screen, you know, sitting in front of me, an ultra-wide. You know, I've got a total of three monitors and a drawing tablet. I wanted a drawing tablet to be able to actually, you know, draw like emotes and shit like that for people. I got that. I got obsessed with keyboards, and I now have got like a collection of like 3 or 4 different keyboards sitting in front of me. All of this is manifestation, but all of this takes work to go into it, right? And it's focus. You send the energy out. You say, this is what I need. And it's almost instinctively, when you really do desire that thing, when you really do know that you need it and you want it, you find a way to get it. And it begins, your life path begins to move into that direction, to give you the ability to manifest and get those things. Right? That's how it works. At least in my experience. Same thing with the altar. The altar, years I've been practicing the occult with no altar, no images outside of my pendants and stuff like that. And I said, you know what? I need an altar. Like I want to focus. I want to put energy into my practice and actually have a place that I can say that this is my place for worship. This is my place for practice, to cast spells, to do rituals, to, you know, do these things. And that one, almost seemingly overnight, I managed to find the ability, way, time and means to practically buy everything I needed for a decent altar setup in the course of 2 weeks. When you really want something, there's so much truth behind the phrase, if there's a will, there's a way. There's so much truth behind that statement. So that's my experience. That's what I've been through. Mystic.
Yeah, so I first want to talk about a sad world with the law of attraction. I think that's a lot to do with what you're saying. I definitely believe in the law of attraction from a sense of in order to kind of get what you are looking for in life, you have to be practical about it and have a consideration for it. But you have to create the space in which it is attracted to you for that thing, right? Yeah, there's a good example. I can't think of it, so that kind of sucks. I wish I could. Let's see if Rook brings the right beer. It's along the lines of, you know, creating the space for the thing that you want to do, right? If you want to get a new car and your car's broke down, you have to figure out a certain way to get to that point where you're going to need that thing or have the thing, because it's not just going to fall in your lap. You have to set up a system or a way to achieve that thing. It's not just going to fall in. Well, it could just fall into your lap, but it generally doesn't. Good choice. Thank you. So yes, definitely believe in the law of attraction. And I think, you know, it's in our science. It's a like attracts like, right? But like also repels like. There's a lot of things to kind of think about what it is that you want to do when it comes to manifestation. I definitely, I used, for example, I used magic this week because I was in New Jersey for work. I was having I knew I was going to have a very difficult time with a couple of people there because there are some people I just don't get along with because I just don't like them and they're terrible at what they do. But I can lose my temper extremely fast when I am in a situation where I feel like somebody's not treating a patient right. But in the end, that doesn't affect a good change, right? That doesn't allow me to have an impact in order to change things for when I'm gone. I can fix a problem while I'm there myself. But if I want to really change something in this building or in the way we're treating a patient, I have to get other people to understand how to do it differently, despite them not doing something the way I like. So I did a little magic on Monday morning before we left to go to the airport. Rook will drop me off at the airport. And I used just some mindfulness, and I like to build, I wonder if I have it, I think, in the back. I'll look for it in a minute. But I like to build little jars, right? And the reason I do that is it gives me a reminder of all the things that I put into it. So I use the elements, and I think about, okay, I need some extra help with intuition this week. I need some extra help with mind and staying on focus. I need some extra help with keeping my fire from getting too high and creating a big blowout and a big frustration. I need my water to be balanced because I don't want to overreact. And I need to be stable with earth. And I would think of all these things that I need to do to manifest what it is my intention is at work this week. And that is to have an impact that's going to last longer than my physical visit in the facility. And so I kept this thing with me all week, and it kept me reminded of all those things to do, and it changed my behavior. So yes, law of attraction. I created a space that had, and something that reminded me to keep things in a certain way, and I was able to manifest something different than I would have without that magic, right? I would not have been as dialed in. I would not have been as calm. I would not have been as located. And some can say that might be a little bit of placebo. It might be, mind tricks, but to me, it was the magic that helped me through this week in my mundane life by manifesting a change in my behavior, utilizing physical things and thought processes that got me to that point. So it was really getting it together and just believing what it is. And, to one of the points it's, I think, difficult for everybody is truly acquiring the thing that you desire. But you have to be careful, be realistic with what you're desiring. You're not going to win the lottery if you don't play. But even if you do play, you're probably not going to win the lottery, right? So, but what I can be appropriate about, or have a realistic attainment of, is happiness, peace, response, enough to pay my bills, enough to do the things I need to do. And so it's really kind of looking at that and really figuring out what it is that you actually want. I think a lot of us are, I don't want to say make mistakes about what we want, but a lot of us don't really realize what we actually want or desire. Like, you might think we want fast cars, we want really expensive things and a nice house, when really we just want love and comfort and to be, cared for by somebody. Once you realize what it is you actually desire, it's much easier to align those things with your actions and what you do. And maybe you do aspire to have excessively lots of money. You can get that. Anybody can, but you're going to have to find a way. You're going to have to put in the work. You may have to go put in 12 years of school to be a doctor. You can get it. But if you feel like it's just going to fall in your lap, not really how manifestation works for me, because you haven't created the situation and the environment in which that will come for. If that makes sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. Actually, they're kind of slightly segues into something else that I kind of want to talk about when it comes to manifestation. So there's a conversation I was having with a client earlier this week. So one of our Hail Thyself clients, and the conversation came up talking about magical manifestation and the confusion that especially like newcomers to the occult, especially of the younger variety, right? I know that it was a crazy thought in my head when I was 15 years old, right? I mean, I fucking had the idea in my head that I was going to be throwing fireballs from my fucking hand, I very quickly realized that wasn't a thing. Wrong kind of manifestation, man.
It can definitely go wrong.
All right, that is CGI only. So it was one of those things that we kind of sitting there, we're kind of talking about this idea and this concept of what people's expectation of manifestation is, right? What people's perspective of manifestation, what is your perspective of manifestation, what manifestation really actually is, right? And manifestation is the accumulation of several different aspects of things working in tandem, right, to actually bring that manifestation to come about. Some people get really lucky. I mean, I've seen people talk about making a vision board and having a picture of a house that they would like to live in, thinking, hey, I'd like a house like this, but I'm going to use this house as kind of like the visual representation, and then actually buying that exact same fucking house, but like 20 years later. Right, like going back into their vision boards 20 years behind, and like looking at the house, like, holy shit, this is the exact same house that I put on my first vision board, and then they bought that house, right? And there's kind of like a magnetic field, like an energy field, like the law of attraction would state, that when you want to manifest something, when you want to bring something about, you bring yourself into that direction. Manifestation, like Mystic said, things are generally not going to fall into your lap the next day. It's just not how it works. It's just not how it functions. And we kind of sat and so I was talking to this client, we were talking about kind of like, how, the misconception of what manifestation is kind of pollutes and muddies the waters a little bit, when people, become skeptical of, of these practices, right? These things that we do, because they do something half believing it, expecting something to happen, the next day, nothing happens. And they're like, oh, it's just all bullshit. That's not how it works. Right? That's not how it works. First and foremost, you have to be invested, right? And it's investment in self. Like when we're talking about self-manifestation, manifesting things that you want, whether material, emotional, spiritual, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a certain level of investment that happens to it. Like, if you look at Mystic, I mean, Mystic, for example, like let's talk about Mystic's career, for example, though. I mean, I know there's a situation happening at work now, but, previously, Mystic is in a high responsibility position that makes good money, right? Now, do you think that he just woke up in the morning and had a job that paid six figures? Like, is that a thing? Like, do you think that happens? Do you think you just wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to wake up in the morning tomorrow, I'm going to have a job that pays me like $100,000 a year? No, you've got to bust your ass to get there.
And a lot of school.
Right? You gotta, you've gotta, go to school. You gotta do the studying. You gotta do the internship. You gotta do, the undergrad shit. You gotta do all of that, build yourself up. And then you get to that stage, where you can be making that kind of money, whether you're in programming, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a nurse, doesn't matter. Whatever field you choose to be in, you could potentially be making $1 million a year, but you're not going to be doing it from one night to the next, right? It's just not going to happen, right? The book that I'm writing, like I'm hoping that the book is going to be successful, but want to know something? If I don't write the book, it's never going to be successful because it's not going to exist. I have to put the work in, write the book, get the book edited, make it clean, make it look good, put it out there, and hopefully people receive it well.
And the manifestation is not whether it's successful. The manifestation is that you completed the act that you needed to do.
Exactly.
And that's,
yes.
Sad World says it the best way. Like, just the more faith I put in myself, the more positive things are starting to occur. That's exactly what it's about. I've talked with Rook a lot about I've achieved past what I thought I would have achieved in a lot of areas. And at that point, I think that's kind of where the whole idea is for me, that I don't think I'll have that whole midlife crisis, because I know what it's like to have nothing. I know what it's like to have things. And now I know which things are important to me, which things I could lose. People don't believe me when I tell you if this house burns down, as long as my dogs make it out, that's well, and Rook, that's all I care about. You know, the tarot cards are fun, but I don't care about them in the long run. I can get another deck. The cars, the motorcycle, the stuff doesn't matter. And the realization is when you figure out what it is that drives you, and what you have faith in for yourself and what you grow for yourself is what will make the difference in what you manifest. I think a lot of us, unfortunately, sell ourselves extremely short in what we're capable of because of what either other people have told us we can and can't do, or maybe we just don't have the will to do it or the desire to do it, and then we beat each other ourselves, or not each other, but we beat ourselves up. Well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? It's like, you know what? If your goal in life is to make enough money to have a roof over your head, a 6-pack of beer, and play video games, then that's okay. If that's what you want, that's what you're manifesting. Nobody else should be able to judge you for that, you know?
Exactly. I mean, there's really not much I can add on to that, right? So I mean, talking about, okay, so, all right, if you guys are wondering why I was just silent there for a second, right? So, I have been trying to position myself to kind of take my graphic design to the next stage, the next level, right? And I have been sending my resume to every single company that has anything remotely close to graphic design. And I just received an email for a conversation with a pretty prestigious firm, design and advertising firm, based out of Chicago. So that's a big thing. Now, it's just an interview. Does it mean I'm going to get the job? No, it doesn't. But does it mean that is that like, that's manifestation of validation, right? Like, that's like the beginning of the end of imposter syndrome, right? That is, somebody took a minute, sat there, looked at my portfolio, said, okay, pretty decent shit. Let's get them in for a conversation, right? Again, that's that manifestation. If should I have applied to all of the positions that I applied to? Probably not. Right? Was I qualified for every single one of those positions? No. Was I overqualified for a lot of those positions? Yes. But it's about putting the work in. It's about, if you want to manifest something, if you want to make something happen, it's about making it happen. I know Mystic doesn't really like this kind of phrase, but it's essentially putting boots on ground and, getting moving, Oh,
that's okay. In that context, that's a good one.
Okay. You want to get that traction, right? Which is why we talk about boots and not sandals or slippers.
Boots on the ground and traction is perfectly fine as long as you recognize that sometimes people need assistance in finding the traction.
Right. No, I agree.
As opposed to blaming. I think the problem for me ends up coming when people, and I'm not saying you do that, I'm just saying that's why it triggers me in a way. Not as much now that it did, but it's the idea that everybody is capable of pulling themselves up every time. Sometimes you need a hand. And there should be people there around you to pull that hand up.
Yeah, no,
if there's not, I agree. Sometimes you're going to have to do it yourself, but it's nice when somebody's around to help.
Oh, that's the phrase that Mystic doesn't like. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Oh. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just, it's very, and I know it has other meanings, but it's just very, and it's a good phrase too. Like, it's a good idea for the right person at the right time to say, come on, you got to pull yourself up together. Let's get going. But sometimes you can't. And that's okay to can't, right? Like, it's the same thing with manifestation. There's sometimes when you aren't manifesting, you might need to stop. You might need to take a break and say, okay, this isn't working. Let me hold off a minute. Because, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. You've got to maybe rethink how you're walking, and you can, you know what, if you're up to your neck in quicksand, you're going to need somebody to throw you a life raft.
Mm-hmm. Or
And
just
that's-
kind of help pull you up, because I think if you're quicksand, the life raft's going down with you anyway.
It is. Yeah, there has to be somebody attached to it. Yeah, that's true. But that's the point, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, and the thing is I think in life, because we're inherently social creatures, even the ones that are antisocial, we have a tendency of surrounding ourselves with people, or at least at some point finding at least one person that is willing to always be there, right? Is willing to always, you know, assist, right? In what, you know, what needs to be done, right? So I think, you know, that's kind of like, you know, what we kind of have to look at. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the email again. I'm just like in awe. I'm like, you know, it's
Some random person was
validation,
calling me like, "Who the hell are they?"
right?
Sorry.
So I think we generally have an opportunity to surround ourselves with people that, you know, at least one person that's going to be there to kind of pull us up and help us out. And I do believe that, like, I've heard a phrase in the past that I really liked that compared people to footprints on a beach, right? That sometimes people walk through your life close to the waterline, and their footprints are very quickly removed, right? What they leave behind is very quickly removed. And some people walk a little bit more inland and leave behind a more lasting impression on who we are and who we become, right? Something that we want to remember. And I believe that the relationships that we make with people are equally as important as the relationships we make with the deities and the entities and the intelligences that we work with, that are equally as important as, you know, manifestation as proof, you know, of, you know, the things that we're doing. And here's another thing, is like a lot of people like to talk about proof, right? Proof that, you know, the gods are real, or that, you know, the demons are real, or, you know, the magic actually works. And generally speaking, the people that are asking that are Christians, and then it's a very, very easy response is, "Oh, well, prove to me God exists." You can't. So it's one of those things that believing in yourself sometimes is like initially like trying to believe in Lucifer, or believing in Lilith, or believing in Baphomet, or, you know, Hecate, or whomever it is that, you know, you're drawn to. Believing in yourself sometimes can be equally as frustrating, or even more frustrating, than believing in something that you can't even see. At least, you know, on a regular physical basis every single day. I know that. I know that believing in yourself is hard. I know that, you know, imposter syndrome is a thing. I know that, you know, having an education and being able to do a thing doesn't necessarily make you confident in the thing that you're doing. I know that, you know, doubting yourself every single day, you know, feeling like you're a fraud and somebody's going to call you out on it, you know, is a thing. That everything you make and everything you create, whether it's Hail Thyself, this podcast, graphic design, you know, whatever it is, you know, that level of self-doubt is always there. But though I may not be able to fully explain why, and I'm going to be completely open with this, I can't fully explain why or how. But despite those doubts, you know, despite that, you know, that feeling of, you know, like being an imposter or being a fraud, despite that, I have been able to manifest the things that I have needed to create, to make, to put myself in front of you, to have this conversation with you, to reach out, to create this content. You know, Mystic was, we crossed paths, in a situation where, the general content of my channel would be content that he probably wouldn't normally watch. He kind of caught me during a stint when I was doing a significantly larger amount of tarot readings.
Mm-hmm.
And even at that point, he had already come to the channel a few times and hadn't said anything, so, there is a possibility that conversation would have never happened. Right. And then the Malice experience would be something very different than what it is today. That this community would be something very different than what it is today. And I have to believe not only in myself and my own ability to bring people together and create connections and, create content that is educational and helpful to the people that are consuming it. But I have to be confident in myself and my ability to do that. I have to be confident in myself and my ability to be here today. I have to believe in myself to some degree. And I know that that's hard for many people. It's hard for me. So the one thing I've always hated about motivational speaking, though it is motivational, right? It's motivational to sit there and see people with the big houses and the fast cars and, the beautiful women, sorry, Mystic, and things like that. It's motivational to see those things. But then it feels, at the same time, it feels very disingenuous, right? It feels like it's only half the story because we're motivated by the things that people have because we want those things, but we're not motivated by the work that it takes to go get those things, right? That's the part that we kind of shut down on. Is like
the same work that it takes for them to get it is not going to be the same path of work for us to get it.
This is true.
It just it doesn't work that way.
Well, I mean, I never assume that the path and the work that go into getting things is the same for anyone.
Most people do, though. Most people say that if you did it this way, then I should be able to do it that way, right? And that's why they pay the $500 for the 3 tapes that tells them how to make money on the side up to $20,000 a week.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's kind of like the aspect of it, right? Like, but the thing is even with those people that are doing that, which essentially kind of feels like a pyramid scheme, but that's a conversation for another day. They don't talk about the doubts that they've had. They only talk about their current state of mind with what it is that they currently have. They don't talk about the emotional struggle to believe in themselves every single day when they didn't have, a cup of soup to eat, while building that, right? And I think that is like, I think that when it comes to motivation, I think that is significantly more important in the motivational aspect to understand that even after you reach a level of success that you currently want to reach, you're still going to doubt yourself. That's normal. It's normal to doubt yourself. And here's another thing as well, guys. Do not create the definition of success or failure. I believe that success and failure both happen when you stop. You reach success when you're done. You are successful at something when you are finished and it works and it functions. You fail at something when you stop trying to make it function, right? There's 2 sides to the same coin. See, success and failure are kind of like a pendulum swing, right? Because an example I gave to, a client not too long ago is I said, think about Apple. Apple was wildly successful when they first hit the scene. Then they fired Steve Jobs and they almost went bankrupt. Apple computers almost shut down. Then they brought Steve Jobs back. They had to get a loan from Microsoft, and they got themselves back up and running. So there was that pendulum swing, right? One of the largest companies on the planet almost shut down, like practically, I think it was like almost 5 or 6 years after the company was created. So understand that your life is going to be very much the same way. Your levels of success and failure are going to be the same way. But make sure that you also understand that you only fail if you stop trying. If you stop trying, that's when you fail. taking a break doesn't count as stop when you stop trying. If you try something 100 times, you need to take a couple minutes to breathe, a couple of months to breathe, and then get back on the bandwagon. That's not quitting. It's just taking a break. Failure happens when you stop trying. Manifestation happens as a natural course of desire and want. Manifestation happens when you connect yourself with something larger than you and take what it is that you want and push forward with it. And you can focus on smaller parts. Actually, Sophie actually kind of mentioned kind of like a list of things that they wanted to be happy, right? Like to be able to live off of their artwork and have a nice apartment and a genuine partner, right? And those are very genuine, heartfelt things to want. Now, what should we do when we focus on when we have a very broad brush stroke of things that we want and desire to consider ourselves to be happy? First and foremost, the first thing I would say to you, Sophie, it's to me that sounds dangerously close to you wanting a partner, and then that partner would be an aspect of your happiness. So I would say wait on the partner part and focus on the art and maybe the apartment. And be happy with you, with or without somebody. And then bring someone in to share that happiness with. Not to make you happy, but to share that happiness with. And that happiness will remain with or without that person. But somebody that you feel comfortable sharing that happiness with. Just my idea of things, right? Just how I kind of look at it, right? Mystic, I've been rambling for quite a bit here. Thanks, man. Thanks.
So, I mean, I kind of see the success and failure as basically constructs that we've created that really have no meaning, other than to kind of put ourselves on a line that really doesn't mean anything ultimately. Because you can look at it as failure or successes are basically just unrealized failures, right? You fail at something, you keep doing it, you fail at it again, it doesn't get where you want to, and you eventually get to that level, like you said. And once you get to that level, that success, it's done, it's over. But I also believe in quitting. I believe that quitting is important. It is important to know when to quit. It is important to know that you can revise your plan, right? And I think we get into this section or this repetition where we keep talking about, oh, I want this and I want that and I want to do this and I want to do that and I can't get there. So because of that, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I don't like anything, I don't like myself, and I'm horrible and I'm worthless. But that's because we are setting our goals and ideas of successes based on what other people have wanted for us. So it goes back to manifesting and finding, really looking inside ourselves and figure out what is the desire that I have, what is the goal that I have. And if I keep trying to do something and I keep failing at it, I don't feel wrong or bad to say, wait a minute, am I striving for the right thing here? Let me look at this, revise my goal, and see if maybe it changed a little bit, and maybe this isn't really what's supposed to happen to me. Because a lot of times in my life, Spirit has told me, stop, you're an idiot. Why are you trying to do this? This is not in your plan. And then I'm like, shit, you're right. Like, I never really wanted to do that anyway. And so that's where it comes into being very clear about what it is you need to do. And we're not going to always be clear. We're always going to have difficulty finding that sometimes, because humans are weird social creatures, like you said, and we tend to base things, whether we know it or not, on external stimulus versus what our internal heart really wants to do. And then, so we strive for these goals. And that's, again, it's the topic of every Hallmark movie. Girl or guy goes to big city, very successful, something's missing in life, goes back to hometown where he grew up and found the girl or man of his dreams, and realizes that they should have always been together because that was the right one, and he left because he had big aspirations to have a big house and a big job, and it's all noise at that point. Where's the failure in that? It was the path that mattered. And so when you go through all that, it was really about recognizing and realizing what it is you're actually looking for and trying to figure out. And it's important. That's why I like meditation so much. We were talking about that a little bit earlier in chat. Meditation is a very good tool to try to help you get your brain onto the desires and things that you want appropriately, or not appropriately, because it sounds like it's right and wrong, but aligned better.
Mm-hmm.
And so when there's failure, I think it's just important to know quitting is an option, and it's a good option if it needs to be. Think of, and I'm going to go back to trigger warning, failure at suicide, good option. It's okay to quit trying to harm yourself.
It
right?
makes me think of kind of like a brain puzzle that we came up with in high school. I don't know who originally came up with it, but some kid in high school said it boggled my brain for at least a week. If you try to fail and succeed, which have you?
Yeah.
Like that's just and I
Have
agree
you
with
failed
you.
or succeeded, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying be a quitter. That's like, I'm not trying to get to be a proponent of quitting everything and not doing anything, but
It's also knowing healthy limits.
reevaluate. Yeah, reevaluate. And if it's still the goal and you failed, keep doing it. But if it's not, when you revise it, it's okay to step away from it.
Yeah,
You're
understanding
not a bad person.
understanding limits, and I think quitting like on a task that is not fulfilling to you. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, because the idea of manifestation is to manifest things that are fulfilling, to manifest things that are going to make us feel whole. Not to manifest things just because we think it's something that we need to manifest. Because if you try to manifest something that you just think you need to manifest for the sake of manifestation, it's probably not going to happen, or at least not happen the way you think it's going to.
Probably not.
And it is very important to be able to have it. I think that's actually the video that I sent you, Mystic. That was the first step. That was the first step in their list of how to manifest correctly is revise your dream. Understand what it is that you actually want. And when the interviewer asked, that guy, what do you think is the biggest mistake that people make during, the steps of manifestation? Is that people think they know what they want and they don't.
Yeah.
And you need to really kind of take some time, internally with self, and understand what it is that you truly want to achieve in your life and where it is that you really want to see yourself being. Because if you're trying to manifest being someplace that you really don't want to be, your mind's always going to go someplace else. You're not going to be comfortable and secure in that vision of you being in that position or being in that place when it's not really where you want to be. Right? You need to be comfortable and confident in yourself and what it is that you want and what it is that you desire. Once you are at that level of understanding where it is that you want to be and how it is that you want to be there and all of those things, then the part of focus becomes easy, right? What happens, when we sit there and we like when I was talking about the computer and I was talking about the job and I'm talking about all this stuff, it's because I've put a lot of time, effort, and focus into these things because I truly, truly wanted them. And when it came to the computer, like I wanted, what I considered the definition of an actual fucking battle station in front of me more than anything. It's like, once I have this thing, I'll be able to do my work. I'll be able to create things, and that is exactly what I do. I'm making an Oracle deck. I'm writing a book. I do this podcast. I do so many different things through this computer and the internet that it's connected to. And that's my manifestation. I manifested that through the work and diligence that I put into accumulating those things.
Yeah, I like this whole the money cannot buy happiness. This thing comes up a lot, especially manifestation. Money can buy you tools that can assist you in doing things that make you happy, but when you do them, most of the time they're with other people, and that's one of the things that I realized. Like, I enjoy certain things, but I have recognized that without them, I would still be able to enjoy certain things. Right? I would love to own a jet ski. I have not ever seen anybody unhappy on a jet ski.
True.
But I have seen people that aren't on a jet ski that don't mind not being on a jet ski. Right? They're tanning at the edge of the lake for free. And the idea is, um, I definitely believe um, that money cannot buy happiness. But I also believe that it can give you some tools and things to do that can increase your enjoyment. For example, we recently bought motorcycles. That has definitely made me happy. Like, I have enjoyed the ride. I have enjoyed being out. But if I didn't have it, I would still be happy. You know, it's not that the motorcycle has made me happy. It's another tool that allows me to do things that I enjoy, which is being outside and, doing things. It's interesting.
Don't apologize, Sad World. It was funny. It was a funny comment.
Yeah, it was good.
It was good because it's true. I've never seen anybody unhappy on a jet ski.
No, and there's other things too. Like I've seen that, like the meme about it too, and but it's an important point that I think money can buy things that help us be happy in certain cases. It's when we rely on it to be the only thing that makes us happy that it becomes really negative, and the idea that we can still be happy without it. Like the revelation that I went through, and I say as a Virgo because I fit the idea of what Virgo needs are. Very structured. I need a house. I need a place to have my things. I need all these things. But when I realized that I can survive without them, everything took on a different meaning. And that's what I think we need to get to, is recognizing that it's okay to want things and have things and try to accumulate things and enjoy things and spend money. But are we okay without them? And that's when things kind of changed for me. When I was able to say, I really don't want to lose my tarot decks, but if they were all gone in a fire and there's none left, I would be okay. As long as my dogs got out, long as Rook got out, and they are safe, I would be fine. Life would continue.
And you got out.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah.
Because it's a little hard for you to be happy and fine if everyone else got out but you.
Yes. And then it'd be hard to get on the jet ski, and then nobody's not happy on a jet ski. So, which, by the way, I really do want a jet ski. Thanks for bringing that up. That is outside of my financial realm at the moment. But in all seriousness, we're talking about manifestation here, and that's kind of the focus. And
well, I think so. I think the thing is money in and of itself does not buy happiness. Happiness is not something that can be purchased. Like, point, end of statement. Like, you can't buy happiness. It's not a product. It's not unless you're buying ecstasy, and then maybe. But anyway,
I'm not a proponent of drugs, but yeah, that is buying happiness. Like, literally, I'll be right back.
He's gonna go get the ecstasy. So I think that money buys the tools that you can use to create happiness. Most of the things that we end up using money on, right, puts us into a situation that can make us happy, right? And most of the time, the things that make us happy are being surrounded by other people, right? So, case in point, the money that I use to buy the computer that I have, the computer itself doesn't necessarily make me happy. I'm pleased that I have it, right? But I'm not like obsessed over it, right? What the computer does is allow me to connect to Mystic and allow me to connect to all of you. And this connection that I have with all of you here, this is what makes me happy. It's this connection and this conversation that I have with you guys, and to be able to kind of bring people together and have conversations like this and talk about the occult in a different fashion than maybe some other people do, right? I want pie, manifest. You can make it happen, right? Grab your wallet, go to the store, and buy whichever pie you want. You just made it manifest, right? Super simple oversimplification, right? But it is what it is. So no, is money in and of itself happiness? No. Money is more a tool of comfort to know that the things that need to be covered are covered. The things that need to be paid are paid. To know that you can be fed, to know that you can be clothed, you can be sheltered, right? And then you can have, certain amenities or extras that you can use to enhance your life experience. Because all of these things, the microphone, the computer, the monitors, the drawing tablet, the stream decks, the cell phone, all the way down to the rum, are points that allow me to reach, levels of happiness, to do things that make me happy. Exactly, Seti. I completely agree with that statement. Money can't buy happiness, but it sure as hell helps.
It can give you a ramp up, right?
Exactly. Money
But
can buy security, yes.
Money definitely can buy happiness once you get to the point of recognizing how much you don't need it, then it really becomes a happiness tool, right? And there's no happiness without penis. Happiness. Saying it's true.
Yeah, I can't deny it. I don't want to agree with it, but I can't deny it.
It's in there. There's a meme everybody should check out on YouTube, and it's unfortunately a little girl who can't say happiness. It just keeps coming out of happy penis. Happy penis. It's hilarious. You should watch it. But yes, it does buy security, right? So there's a lot of things you can buy with money, but if you rely on that for your happiness, it's not gonna work. But if you know it's secondary to your happiness, then it will.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it is what it is. It's a tool. And everything, at the end of the day, everything that we own, everything that is material is a tool that can assist us in doing the things that make us happy. Whether that's reading a book or drawing a picture, taking a picture, right? Sitting on the beach. Sometimes that's free, sometimes it's not, depending on where you are. Being able to sit on a beach with, a full meal and a martini or a margarita in that case. No, margaritas for the beach, martinis for the bar. Takes money to get the margarita, right? Just saying, So it's a tool. It has always kind of irritated me, the statement, this money doesn't buy happiness. It was like, yeah, no, it doesn't, because happiness is an abstract, right? Money is a tangible tool. Happiness is an abstract because it's dependent on the people that consider whatever it is that they're looking into to make themselves happy. What makes me happy isn't what's going to make, Mystic happy or Rook happy or anything like that. Beach and Jack Daniels equals fun time. Yes.
It just reminded me of how we used to get drunk in Virginia Beach, because that's where I'm from, Virginia Beach, Virginia. And we would take our Diet Coke or whatever and just drink like 75% of it and then fill it back up with vodka and drink so much that we'd be drunk on the beach. Those were some of the best days of my life. That was not expensive. Yeah, well, I do remember driving when I shouldn't have been. Don't recommend it. And my ex now, but not at the time, threw up. And it went straight up on the roof because we were trying to hide it because the cop was driving by. But those are memories, right? That memory didn't cost us much. Now, granted, I shouldn't have been on the street, but I hadn't been drinking. He had, so. But yeah, it was fun.
Yep.
So it doesn't buy happiness. People is where it really comes down to.
Yep. I mean, some of like the funnest moments that I remember in my youth, when I realized, when I was younger, all happened right before falling asleep on a bathroom floor, multiple times. And those were moments that didn't cost a lot of money. Brain cells, maybe. Money, not so much.
I definitely lost a couple of those in my 20s.
Yeah. Lost a couple of thousand brain cells, over the course of 2-3 years there. But, they've kind of started growing back. So
Which, by the way, they actually do. It used to be thought that once your brain cells are gone, they're gone, but you actually can grow them back
Mm-hmm. So
to much of our happiness.
exactly, which means, we're not condoning it, but sure, go ahead and kill a few brain cells. Make a few cheap memories. Just not with gasoline or paint thinner. All right.
Terrible. Makes you want to go get drunk on the beach now.
So, anyway, guys. All right. I definitely think this has been a fun conversation tonight. Mystic, are you up for an after show tonight, or?
Yeah, I'll hop in for a little bit. I'm still awake somehow.
All right, awesome. So we'll do a short little after show. I can't stick around for too long. I'll be around for maybe about 20 minutes to a half an hour in the Discord after the show. So again, Mystic, if you do me a favor, drop the link to the Discord there.
Getting to it.
So, all right, there we go. Yes, and so we'll see you guys in the after show. Get into the Discord if you're not already in the Discord. All right, we'll see you guys there. You guys are fucking amazing, and as always, hail thy fucking self. See you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Deuces.